Welcome to online drawing number 3, lesson 4. And we're going to be working with oil pastels today on Bristol board. And I'm recommending that you have your set of oil pastels and a penny or a nickel or some kind of coin that you can use to scrape away. It's not great to use your fingernails. I tend to use my fingernails, but there's a lot of cleanup after that. If you have a penny, that makes it a lot easier. There is no erasing. Once you've put it down, it's down. So I'm going to show you some techniques to make that removal of the top layer a little bit easier. But first, I want to talk to you about the colors that we're going to be using today. I'm working with a secondary palette. I'll show you over here. The secondary palette is a triad. See the big triangle in the middle of my color wheel? The secondary triad is orange, green, and violet. And they are equally balanced on the 4 corners of the color wheel. Now, I'm going to start with a very large purple pitcher, and then in front of it is a green sugar bowl, and then in front of that there will be a tomato. And so there has to be enough foreground to fit all those things in. And for that reason, I am going to lop off, having drawn it, I'm going to lop off the bottom of my pitcher, around there, keeping the deepest curve at the bottom because I'm looking down at it. And then I look to see whether or not I'm going to be able to fit my sugar bowl, maybe there, and my tomato, maybe there. Yeah, I can do that. So I can also maybe bring it down 1/4 of an inch and deeper in the center, which will make it appear taller. So my sugar bowl is wider at the bottom, narrow at the top, and symmetrical. When I look at the outer contour of my sugar bowl, I see that when this line comes up, this comes out a little further. Similarly, when this line comes up, the lid comes out a little further. That's important for my design. I'm going to have a bulge here and a bulge here, and I'll see more of the top of this than I see of the top of this. And like this curve has to go down as well. I'm looking at the negative space here and here to figure out where my handles go. Now there's always an inside and an outside circle when you have handles. Like here, there's an inside space, and here there's an outside space. In this case, I'm also looking down at the top of the handle. So figure out how much of the top you see and how much of the inside you see if there's a handle. Also, my handles are wider at the bottom and smaller at the top, just like the sugar bowl. If I bisect my top with a line, I can see where the handle goes for the lid. All right, line drawing complete. Now we're going on to colors and marking first where the highlights are. And my darks. Okay, so we're working in oil pastels. Oil pastels are hard because you can't erase. So what you want to do is put down light layers and build them up slowly. I'm recommending Expressionist by Craypa. Now sometimes you may need to use a piece of paper to clean your pastels in case they have any other colors on them. I'll just put my first layer down and move on to my green, which I will use for my sugar bowl. Remember, you can add white to your green or any other color to make it a pastel version of that color. Because I do want this to be a pastel version of green, I'm going to add white in advance. And then I'll put a light layer of green down. And if I want to add a little bit of the yellow green, which might help here because this looks a little bit turquoisey to me, I will. And then I will mix it with the white. Now if there's a dark side and a light side, as there is here, you use the complement. Now because I'm working with pastels, pastel colors, let's see what happens when I add pink instead of red. You use the red as the complement for any shadow area. So this would be a shadow area right underneath in front. Take note of where the light is, and you can put that down earlier. I'm adding white before adding the green in this case. A little bit of the yellow green. A little bit of the red, because I know This will be darker. And I'll come back to get the dark light ratio when I redo the reds in my tomato and the greens in my tomato. But now I want to put down some of the purples for my pitcher. If you want to make it more red or more blue, you can actually mix your own. But if you're working with, as I am, a kind of a reddish purple, you can use the one out of the box until you start working with your shadows, and then you will be adding colors like yellow and yellow ochre. So yellow ochre is the dark version of yellow. And it may make it too warm, so then you can add blue. As before, I'm going to add some white in the area that's light. Working on the top, I just go back to white and black, and then maybe a little bit of blue so it doesn't separate from the colorful work. Sometimes it builds up and you have to brush it off. And there'll be a dark related to the white of the surface of the table, so I'm going to use black, which will help me separate it from the surface of the table. A little bit of red will help my tomato, sort of a reddish orange. All right, so I'm darkening my sugar bowl with a little bit of blue on one side and lightening it with a little bit of yellow on the other. One is cool, one is warm, so it pushes and pulls that area on the surface of the bowl. I'm going to work on the table now. It'll have the same value range as the top of the pitcher. And when you're done, you should feel like there's a solid piece of tablecloth that it's sitting on. And then softening at the end if you want to make some of your gradations just a little bit smoother. All right. So have fun.